What is going on, everybody? Another week, another episode of the UGA Sports Call-In Show. I'm your host, Paul Maharry, joined alongside, as always, Trent Smallwood. Trent, you just got off a ball field. Did you guys win?
We finished third. We
Finished
were one
third?
game away from the championship, or going to the championship, but we lost. So
Well, good thing you lost because you're here with us. If not, you would have still been playing. So, anyways, guys, we're going to be talking. It's kind of down right now in terms of UGA football. Not a lot going on. There still is some stuff that could be going on, some transfers, things of that nature that we can discuss. But we want to really touch on this episode, impact freshmen. Who will step up? That's one of the topics, as you can see right there. The other topics for tonight always are going to be your questions. If you have questions, we'd love to see them in the chat. And then Anthony Dasher will be joining myself later on. I'm going to give Trent the rest of the night off after we get done talking about these freshmen so we can eat some dinner. But he's going to be talking to me about the UGA baseball team in the SEC tournament and what it will take to get them into potentially the playoffs. So, Trent, starting off first, man, we did an article over on UGA Sports, and that's kind of what prompted this. Anthony Dasher had a really good piece about 3 impact freshmen on the offensive side of the ball and 3 impact freshmen on the defensive side of the ball. I want us to do that as well, but I also want to talk about not just this season, but over the course of their career, 3 guys on each side of the ball who you think will make the biggest impact. Because sometimes, Trent, when we talk about freshmen and then we talk about them being seniors, like D'Angelo Gibbs comes to mind, right? Guys like that didn't really pan out. So, it's going to be interesting to see if our list changed from guys that can produce as a freshman and then guys can produce as a senior. So, Trent, I'm going to kick it over to you if you want to go ahead and start off with your freshman offensive side of the guys. While I tweet this out, name a couple guys that you think as freshmen, and then we'll go back after we do offense and defense and do it as over their whole career. But as freshmen, who are some guys in this last recruiting class by Kirby Smart and the coaches over there in Athens that you think could see the field, have an immediate impact for the Dogs, and, play as a freshman?
I think when you're looking at freshmen on the offensive side of the ball, I don't think you can look any farther than the tight end position.
I'm going to disagree with you, but go ahead. I'm going to let you do your thing. Go ahead.
No, I just think he brings a different dimension than what Darnell Washington brings. I think he offsets him very well. There's you can look at Adonis Mitchell at wide receiver.
Yep.
I think he could make some get some immediate PT. I think you can look at the offensive line. I think you can there can be some immediate PT on the offensive line, especially at left tackle. We're talking
Maharry Mims.
Maharry Mims. Offensive side of the ball is tough. I think defense side of the ball is a little clear, but offensive side of the ball, I don't. You got Brock, but you don't need Brock this year.
Right. You named 3. So you named A.D. Mitchell, Brock Bowers, and Maharry Mims.
That's the 3 I would go with.
Okay, so I guess mine's a little different because I would go with A.D. Mitchell and I would go with Maharry Mims as well. I don't know if Brock Bowers is my third one, though, Trent. The reason being is Georgia's not going to throw 3 tight ends out there, and is Brock really going to pass Fitzpatrick? Now, we know Darnell has to be more involved. Like, that is a given, right? He showed it in the spring game. He is a matchup nightmare. There's nobody in the country like him at the tight end position. But then you start thinking, Brock Bowers is impressed. He has been – everybody's talked about him, all off season, how this guy can, work on the field, get open, block. But then I started thinking about it. I said, well, who are you going to take off the field? Are you going to take Darnell off the field, Trent? No. Are you going to take Fitzpatrick off the field? I don't think so. I think he's done a good enough job to kind of secure his spot as at least one of the 2 tight ends getting most of the reps at tight end. So that's why he's not in my top 3. And it's not a bad thing. And if he proves me wrong, I'm down with it, Maharry Mims. Go ahead.
Back at last year. You had the same. You had Darnell and you had my mind's slipping me. Florida State.
Trey McKitty.
Trey McKitty. you had those three again last year. All three of them got pretty much equal reps on the season. So I mean, there were some injuries involved here and there, but I think Brock Bowers is going to get his reps. I mean, I think he's going to get. I mean, he might not be the necessarily go-to guy, but that's not really what we're talking about. I think we're talking
Right,
who's
right.
going to contribute, and I think. Yeah, while they're not going to play three tight ends at the same time, I do think Brock's going to have packages because I do think he will be see the biggest threat as far as vertical threat out of the three. I
Okay.
think he's going to be able to do the stretch the field. You know, Darnell, he's just a freak of nature.
Right.
He's just anybody that's 6'8", 280 pounds that can run like he does is free. But and he's going to be on the field. I just think Brock brings a different talent than the other two do.
Okay, so I'm looking at the commitment list from last commitment class. You had A.D. Mitchell, Jackson Meeks, Brock Bowers, Lavoisier Carroll, who is now on the defensive side of the ball, Brock, and then you had your 4 linemen. So you had Micah Morris, Fairchild, Jared Wilson, and Amarius Mims. Is there anybody before we go to the defensive side of the ball? And Andres Barnes, thanks for coming. He said that's a hard question. Yeah, we're trying to decipher it here, man. Let us know where you're from, Andres, and if you're watching as well, anybody, put in the comments where you're watching us from. As always, we'd love to interact with you guys. Put your questions in there that you've got, Andres. We can answer them as well. Trent, is there anybody off that list on the offensive side of the ball that you would change for their career in Athens and not just freshmen?
Well, I mean, I think you got to look at Brock because I mean the quarterback's your
Okay, there you go.
kind of your
There you
staple.
go.
And
Okay, so who are you
then
taking? Who are you taking out of those three? Because we're gonna keep it hard, right? You're not just gonna be able to add him. You got to take one of the three: A.D. Mitchell, Bowers, or Mims out if you're gonna add Brock. And we're keeping this out of 3 impact guys over the course of their career. Who are you taking out?
I'm taking the tight end out because I'm going
Okay.
with my quarterback, my tight end, and my left tackle.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
sorry, quarterback, wide receiver, and left tackle, not tight end.
But yeah, so I'm with you there. I would say the one guy to me, and it's tough, right? And I disagree with you just on the Brock Bowers point, just for the simple fact that I don't know if there's enough reps. You made a great point, though. There were enough reps last season to get Darnell, Trey McKitty, and Fitzpatrick the ball. So you very well could be correct in that sense. I'm doing it kind of for argument's sake, to be honest, because if you look at the offensive side of the ball, Trent, there's not a ton of guys. The only other guy that would really pop out in my mind is a guy like Micah Morris, who, but they're just so deep at offensive line, man. Micah to me, looking at this class when they're seniors, could be a guy that is a 3-year, 2-year starter that we're not talking about, and just nobody's talked about him because he committed to Georgia so soon and didn't take any visits. Everybody kind of forgot about him, but that's one guy to keep your eye on. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, Trent, now we're going to do freshmen again and then over their course of their whole career. So you've got, I'll run down the list for you: Chaz Chambliss, Jamon Dumas Johnson, Smail Munden, Xavier Sori, Jonathan Jefferson, Marlon Dean, TID, Ingram Dawkins, David Daniel, Javon Bullard, Kamari Lasser, and Nyland Green. Give me your 3 freshmen, and then we can talk about over the course of their career.
I'll go with Munden. I'll go with Nyland Allen.
Oh, a
And
Nyland. Are you claiming that? Like, is that your thing? I have not heard that yet. That might be your thing. The Nyland Island. I
uh,
like that. I dig that.
um, and then the third one would be I got to go defensive line. Uh,
Who are you gonna go? Are you gonna go Jefferson, Marlon Dean, TID? Who are you going with?
man,
It's tough.
that's a tough one. That's tough. And the only reason I'm gonna have to go. I'll go to TID just because of the
Yeah.
interior. I think TID is which I didn't think that was a steal for Georgia anyways to get him out of
Yes. Oh
Carolina.
yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
it's TID is just he's a talented guy, and it's not. I think the offensive line class is special. I mean, the defensive line class is
Very
especially
special.
a couple underrated guys. If you combine that with what they have coming in this class, that defensive line could be special here in about 2 years. But and it's like it's not already. I mean, you got Jordan Davis
Right.
and Devontae Wyatt, and then Trayvon Walker, and the list goes on. But you add you're about to have two special classes with some big time talent in it in a row. And but TID, I'd go with TID.
So you took my pick. I didn't think you were going to take my pick. I knew we both were going to say Nyland. I knew we both were going to say Munden. But you took my pick with TID. So I'm going to go. God, this is so tough, man. I'm looking at this list, and there's realistically on the defensive side of the ball, Trent, there's like out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, out of 11 guys on the defensive side, I legitimately think 8 of them could play their freshman year and have some type of role. Not all 8, but I think the 8 of them have a shot. So if you're going to take TID, which is a great pick, he's underrated just like how Jordan Davis was. And I say underrated, he's a 4-star, right? But nobody really was talking about him. I think that's a crazy great pick by you. And if you took him, I'm not going to go that same route. I'm going to go with Jonathan Jefferson. Nobody talks about this kid, man. This kid's dad
that was where I was hung up at.
Yeah.
I mean, Jonathan Jefferson has the potential to come in and just be like,
yes,
just shoot
man.
to the mouth.
Yeah, I mean, his dad was a heavyweight boxer, fought in big-time heavyweight title bouts. For me, Jonathan Jefferson checks every box. If you're looking for a guy to replace Malik Herring to a T, Jonathan Jefferson is it. Malik had a heck of a career at Georgia. He didn't really have the stats, but he was consistently in on almost every play. The guy didn't take any reps off. You could count on him. Jonathan Jefferson is that next guy, I think, in that line. A little bit bigger than Malik, which is fine. But Jonathan Jefferson would be my guy. Now, we did it on the offensive side of the ball. Is there anybody you would change, Trent, and we've got a couple of questions we're going to talk about too, coming into about this. Is there anybody over the course of their career, not just freshmen, over the course of their career, and if you need me to run through the list, I can because I know you're on your phone. Again, is there anybody you would change off that, or are you sticking with those 3 guys? Because those 3 guys are probably going to be really good, but is there anybody you're going to change?
I mean, I really think Xavier Story is going to be very good.
Stop doing this, man. I need to answer these questions myself before I give them to you. But go ahead.
I think Xavier Story is going to be very good. But I think Daniel is going to be a guy to watch, to be a leader. Maybe playing sort of that Richard LeCount role in Athens, that leadership role that you look back on and you're like, he wasn't always in the right position. He wasn't always
right.
He's the glue of that secondary.
Right.
And I think you could look back on that and he was kind of the glue of this recruiting class through COVID and all that stuff. And a guy you never really heard about, and I think he could be a similar type guy. He might not always light up the stat book, but I think he's going to be a leader in that secondary.
One guy for me, and I know we touched on both of the other defensive linemen, so the last guy I'll talk about is Marlon Dean. He's more of a question mark for me. I think it's you're either going to get a ton of production out of this guy or you're not going to get very much at all. I don't know which way it's going to go. Obviously, coming from IMG Academy, he went through that. He was able to go through that. Some kids aren't able to go through that. He was able to go through that. High school / it's pretty much like a college down there in the way that they work out and way they practice and things like that. Marlon Dean, to me, is that guy that you look at, and he could be the guy in 4 years that we talk about. We say we didn't talk enough about him as a freshman. So we've touched on that. Let's see.
They got a couple of those guys, too. Bullard. And,
I was just going to say, Bullard is another one, high risk, high reward type deal.
Yeah, they're just so raw in talent, but the talent's there. And I just think Georgia's got a good mixture of highly rated guys who you're going to expect to come in and do good, and then lower rated guys, maybe lower 4 stars, higher 3 stars that could just blow up when they get to college just because of their athleticism. And I think it's that's another hard one. I think it's kind of obvious where you could go with the top 3 of who could play as a freshman, but they got a couple underrated guys that could really change that up.
One guy that's not on campus yet, I think it's one of the only guys not on campus yet, Jamon Dumas Johnson, way up from Maryland.
Those guys are built strong up there.
They are. That school he comes from over there in Maryland, they put out a lot of prospects. 6'2", 225 is what we have him in the database as. Another guy like that was kind of lower rated. that Kirby really eyed in on at the linebacker position was Monty Rice. Monty Rice became a 3-year starter. Their games are kind of similar. That's another guy. You could go down this list and make comps for each one of them, but what I'm saying is, there's a lot of guys we just don't know about yet. I do think you're right, and I with Nyland, Munden, and then TID being the 3. But Jonathan Jefferson as well for me instead of TID since you took that pick as a freshman.
Chaz Chambliss is another question mark for me. It's just because I don't know where he's going to play. He's going to be on the outside linebacker, inside linebacker, defensive end. Where will he end up? And I just think that he brings the versatility to play different positions. Just all depends on what weight he puts on and what. But I do think you're going to see him at the jack or the or defense end for us over with. But he's another high motor kid that you just don't know what you're going to get. But I think at the very worst, you're going to get a good special teams player out of Chambliss.
I think the biggest thing, if you're a Georgia fan, is you don't have to worry so much about these freshmen playing. Maybe Nyland. You might want Nyland to play, and depending on how that first game against Clemson goes, you might want to see Nyland faster than any of these other guys. But you don't really have to see any of these guys this year because the defense is really stacked. Trent, getting over these questions. Let's see. Oh, Joseph McClain watching from Fort Myers, Florida. Appreciate it. My brother John Adams from Coral Gables, Florida. He said, do you take Brock or Darnell for their UGA career? That a tough question or an easy one? I'll go first on this one, Trent. I think it's an easy one. I do because it's a quarterback versus a tight end, right? You're always going to take the quarterback. Now, Brock's numbers are going to look better, right? He's a quarterback. His stats are going to look better.
Are we talking about Brock Bowers or?
Oh, excuse me. I'm thinking Vandergrift. Lord. Okay. So do you take Brock or Darnell? Yeah, he's talking about Brock Bowers. Thank you, Trent. So is that a tough question or easy one? Okay, it went from being a very I was going to say it went from a very easy one to a kind of tough one now that you corrected me on the Brock. I don't know, Trent. People have been talking about Brock Bowers consistently throughout this whole offseason. You talk to anybody inside the program, anybody around the program, Brock Bowers is the only person they want to talk about as a freshman. But then you think about Darnell Washington and what he did to Dan Jackson that he threw him on the ground in the spring game. I hope he's okay. Like I said, I would have quit football, and I hope that he stuck around. And he did, obviously, making a joke. But I don't know. I think I want to say that it's an easy question, and I want to choose Darnell. Correct me if I'm wrong, though, Trent. You think it's a tougher question than it is?
No, I think it's a tougher question because I'm high on Brock. And,
see, I don't. Yeah, I'm not sold on him yet.
Just because I think that, I know how Georgia. You're going to go to a 2 tight end system, and I think that if you're going to put 2 tight ends on the field at the same time, whether you're going from you're flexing them out or you got them on the line. If you are flexing somebody out, you're not going to flex Darnell out and have Brock on the line. So
right, that's my whole thing is, does he see that much playing time? If you're going to flex Darnell out, you want Fitzpatrick on the line, right?
Right.
So that's my thing.
But then Monken is a lot smarter than all of us. So
right.
He's going to have. I would love to see him put tight ends in and then flex. Split him out wide. Darnell out wide and let him go 1-on-1 because what cornerback can stop 6'8", 280?
No, there's nobody. There's literally nobody. Let's see.
Eric Gilbert on the other side. Eric Gilbert. Sorry.
Yeah. We might talk about that. Andres Barnes.
Hold on. I'm taking Brock out of my top 3 of Eric Gilbert.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. There's no takebacks though. Now there's no takebacks. You've already put him in. I took him out. It wasn't because of that, but I took him out, so I'm free. Andres Barnes says, his 2 guys, Amarius Mims and Nyland Green, I think those are solid choices. Trent and I both agree that those 2 guys, as freshmen and throughout their whole career, will probably be the 2 guys. You look back on this class, offensive and defensive side of the ball, minus Vandegrift, right? We don't know what's going to happen with him at quarterback. He could light it up and be a Heisman guy. But as of right now, Mims and Green look to be the 2 guys. Patricia Boydston says, hello, Fairfield, Idaho. Fairfield, Idaho. Okay. I think that's our first Idaho, Trent. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that's our first
I don't know
Idaho.
many people from Idaho. I tell you that.
I don't know many. So Patricia, thank you for joining us. Andres says North Augusta, and then John Adams obviously corrected me on the Brock Bowers thing. Trent, as far as football recruiting, man, before I let you go and I bring in Anthony Dasher, you got anything for me? I mean, June, first of all, before I let you go, June 1st in Athens, Georgia, there might be 100 prospects on campus. There's gonna be probably 50.
And don't you just think? I mean, you've had Kirby Smart is a great recruiter. Kirby
Yep.
Smart's not a great virtual recruiter, as we've seen in the last year.
Yeah.
That was a struggle, but now it's getting back into his getting those kids on campus. What he's wanted the past year. Don't you think he's been preparing for this day for 14 months or however long it's been? Like he has
Right.
been building. Like he's had
Right.
something of it 14 months. So I think this June 1st weekend is going to be special for Georgia. I mean, I think it's going to be well organized. It's going to be they're going to lay out the red carpet for all these guys because nobody's been on campus, and they're going to
Right.
say, "Hey, this is your first visit following dead period for however many months, 16 months. This is your first visit. Somebody top this one.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody top this one." So
And to be honest, some of these kids, this is going to be their like legitimate first visit to a college.
yeah,
Like haven't even gone to an unofficial, and you get to step into Georgia. They've got that new locker room, the new coaching facility, staffing office, things of that nature. We have seen bits and pieces of it on Twitter. We haven't seen the full reveal yet. I think they're waiting. I think they're waiting till June 1st to do that. They want to show these kids first, and then we'll see like the big reveal of the whole building. But they're building it up on Twitter. I mean, all I know is June 1st, Trent, you better have nothing planned, brother, because we're going to be writing. And we might be writing commitment stories. I mean, there's going to be 55. And we're not talking about, Trent, we're not talking about like 3-star kids either, dude. We're talking about like 5 stars in every class. Like, this is literally the weekend. It's unreal.
we could have already started writing stories. You never know. I mean,
Right. Yeah. There might be some in the drafts, man. Anything else you got in recruiting? I'm going to text Dash here so I can let him know. You got anything else for us before I
no,
let you roll?
I just think it's been a slow season so far. Just with all the COVID protocols, us getting back in camps, us being able to get adjusted to being able to get back out there, and then June 1st is when it's really going to start. It's hadn't really been flowing, pumping up. But June 1st is starting, and we're ready to go. We're ready to roll, and I think there's going to be a lot of news in June. I think there's going to be a couple commitments in June, and I'd be ready
Yep.
to roll. It's going to be Georgia's got a lot of guys coming on campus. Number one, leading for guys. Number two, and guys that those guys are going to be on campus in June, and those guys are nearing a decision time. So there's some talent in state, out of state. There's a running back out of state that is very fond of Georgia that will be on campus soon. There's just a ton of talent that Georgia's going to have in Athens.
Right, Trent. So, Trent, I'm going to let you go, man. I appreciate you. I got Dash on the phone, and you get you some supper, and we'll go from there, brother.
All right, man.
See ya.
See you.
And so that was Trent Smallwood, folks. I think I've got Anthony Dash on the line. Dash, you there with me?
I am right here.
Dash, what's going on, man?
Not much.
So, obviously, Trent and I kind of piggybacked off your stories of the 3 impact freshmen, and then we kind of went into their careers as well, who we thought could be different from true freshmen to overall in their career in football. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the baseball team, and do they have a chance to make it into the College World Series? How is it all working out? We haven't had you on in a while. What's going on with those guys?
Well, College World Series, that's a little big step. If they can make the NCAA tournament, I think that would be a good deal. And Coach Rickman seemed to think, if they win the play-in game, 2 to LSU, he thinks they'll get in. I mean, LSU and Georgia, records are, almost the same. They both won, 13 SEC contests during the course of the year. And the way Coach sees it, whoever wins this is going to get in. Typically, you see 8 teams from the conference, make the tournament. Georgia is 8 seed, as you know, and the SEC their tournament gets underway Tuesday afternoon. So we'll see. I mean, I still think maybe they have to win one or two more games, but the coaching's pretty confident. I mean, just last year, I'm sorry, not last year, but the year before last, in 2019, Auburn went in with a very similar situation. Won just 14 ball game, SEC games in the course of the year, and they won and was able again. And they went all the way to the World Series that year, very unexpectedly. So it can't happen. They've got a shot, but they've got to face LSU team's playing. Been playing pretty well of late, and they've got to face their ace pitcher.
So Dash, obviously, that's kind of what I was going to get at right there. Who do you put on the mound? Do you put your ace out there, or what? How is the thought process on that?
Well, you pretty much have to do what the I'm sorry, you're pretty much the situation I'm having to pitch Luke Wagner, because you're not going to bring anybody back from 2 days rest, 3 days rest, throw them out there in any kind of game under situation. They do a very good job of taking care of these guys' arms, and they're not going to force somebody out there who's not ready to pitch. So that's why you're going to see Luke Wagner. You're going to see Jaden Woods piggyback off of him. I know some people are going to look at it and say, what is Coach thinking about this? But that's really the only option they've got for this ball game. I mean, Jonathan Cannon, obviously through Saturday, he cannot come back. Liam Sullivan pitched Friday. He would be coming back on 3 days rest, and that's I don't think that would be a good idea either, to be quite honest with you. So, Luke Wagner pitched the game, started the game anyway this past Thursday. He'll be pitching on a 4 days complement of rest. So they want to do that and hope for the best.
And so kind of moving on from baseball, what about this basketball team, Dash? What's going on over there in Stegman? We talked about it last show. Obviously, the transfers are happening, right? They've lost a lot of guys. Yeah. KD Johnson. I mean, the list goes on, right? I know Roddy put out a tweet, and he crossed out, I think, the top 6 out of 7 point scorers for the Dogs. They won't be coming back. What's the thought process moving forward with that team? It's going to be just a rebuilding year, obviously, but Tom Crean obviously is still trying to get guys onto the team, right?
Yeah, they've got 2 more spots to fill, right now by my math. Got 5 guys coming as transfers right now. They still got 4 guys, remaining from last year's team who are on scholarship. You can have 14 players, so that makes well, I take that back. They've got they got 3 more spots they can fill right now. So they're definitely in the market with some players. And the point guard is one. With Shadir Wheeler, moving on to Kentucky. Name to take keep your eye out though is Austin Cook. Guy who started his career at Southern Illinois, played there for 4 years, broke his hand, and I believe it was a senior season, and wound up transferring to Gonzaga for his senior season. Started 1 game as a backup point guard there, but he's a very good ball handler. He can dish out, I think, 3.3 assists. His last 4 years at Southern Illinois, so he would be a good pickup, because they definitely need somebody to fill that point spot now with Severe gone.
And obviously, everybody wants to know about football. Dash, what's the next steps for Georgia football? Summer practice. When are we going to start getting some more team stuff out there? Obviously, this is kind of the dog days right now. June 1st is a huge recruiting weekend for the Dogs. On the team side of everything, when's everything going to start picking back up, and what can we expect out of Kirby Smart and his staff this year?
Well, for the 1st of June, you'll start seeing players trickle in, and that's when the summer workout programs will begin under the watch of Scott Sinclair, the strength coach, and his staff. Now coaches, the NCAA did tweak a few little things as far as the rules go, so coaches can spend a little bit of time with them during the summer, but mostly it's still going to be a situation where Coach Sinclair is they'll have the scheduled strength conditioning sessions. They'll do some a few some 7-on-7 work inside the indoor practice facility for the most part, and just get ready. I mean, it's season's gonna be here before you know it. September 4th is that big opener, against Clemson. But the team for the most part will be returning here over the next couple of weeks, and they'll get cranked up here pretty soon.
Last question before I let you go, Dash, and I appreciate you hopping on with us. Can folks expect, you don't have to name names, but are the Dogs still in the market for transfers? Is this team set, or do you think that Georgia's going to be adding maybe 1 or 2 more guys before they play Clemson?
I still think you're going to see Georgia add a couple more players. I know they still would like to have a cornerback, and we'll see what happens there. I think there's a couple of guys that they still have their eyes on a lot, and you may wind up seeing an offensive player. They try to pick up here in the next next few weeks. So, but yeah, they've got two more scholarships, I believe it is, to fill right now. I think there's 83. So they got two more guys that coach can fill, and I'm sure he's working hard to do that.
Right. Well, Dash, I appreciate you talking with us, man. And as always, you're welcome on anytime, and we appreciate having you on.
Sure.
And we will talk to you later on, my man.
All right, see you, Paul.
All right, see you. That, folks, was Anthony Dasher. Here I am by myself, guys. If you have any questions, put them in the chat for me. I will get to them as quickly as I can. I don't know about you guys. I'm a left-handed golfer, okay? I'm not that good, right? I'm decent, like 100. I think I've broke 100 twice. I started playing 2 years ago, but I've always looked up to Phil Mickelson. I used to never be able to watch golf on TV. Today was super cool being able to watch Phil, watch that crowd follow him down 18. So that was one of those things that I'm going to kind of, I don't know, take with me for a while, watching Lefty win his, I don't want to say his last major championship, right? There's always room for one more, but winning at the age of 50, almost 51, I think that was probably the coolest moment of the weekend. Obviously, you've got Knicks and Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks are in the playoffs. I know that that's not UGA Sports related, and neither is Phil Mickelson, but the Hawks are in the playoffs. So, support those guys. The Braves, they're doing all right as well. Austin Riley's bat's going. They scored 20 runs against the Pirates, who might as well be a AAA team. But they did that, and then they won as well again today. Guys, I don't know if I've got much for you anymore. Seems like we've covered everything. Next week's show, let me check my calendar here. Next week's show is going to be on the 30th. So we're going to be talking about all the guys that are coming to visit that June 1st weekend. It's going to be packed. Like I talked with Trent, it is going to be a huge weekend. Tons of names. I mean, legitimately a ton of names are going to be taking in Athens, Georgia for the first time. The coaching staff is ready. I know they're ready to host these kids in person. They're going to roll out the red carpet like Trent said. And to be honest, we could see a commitment or two. I think this June period, you've got kids coming June 1st. You've got official visits from June 1st to June 3rd. You've got kids coming in again at June 3rd. You've got another set of prospects coming in at June 5th. I mean, it's going to be one of those things where it's just not going to stop. The momentum from recruiting, it's back now. So it's one of those things where I think recruiting is really going to take off, which means we're going to have more content for you guys over on the site, UGAsports.com. Sorry if the show wasn't as grand as, we had hoped for. Some shows are better than others. There's not a lot going on right now, guys. Next week, though, I promise, going to be a big recruiting show. Make sure you get your recruiting questions into us. And until then, signing off for Trent Smallwood and Anthony Dasher. Oh, we got one comment. Martin said Munden could have an impact at inside linebacker this year. Yeah, very well could, man. And that's one of our picks for a freshman that could see the field, heavily for Georgia. But, guys, I'm going to be signing off. Thank you so much for watching. As always, Paul Maharry, Trent Smallwood was with us. Anthony Dasher was with us. Hope you guys have a great week, safe week, and we'll see you next Sunday. Thanks so much.